I hadn't really looked into the maps. For Doubt to advance, he has basically the only way Doubt goes through. My understanding of it is that both Whoop and Bacti have to lose their remaining game or remaining set. If they both lose, then Chris and Doubt go through. That's my understanding of it. It may be slightly more complicated than that, but that's what I think is the deal. I'm wondering if you've been hearing a tiny little echo because I just realised my phone was replaying my voice very, very quietly, but my mic is sensitive enough to have actually picked that up. Turn that off now if it was bothering you. And right, let's have a look at this then. Okay, Whoop in blue towards the bottom left as the Britons, and Mongols in red towards the... yellow in the red towards the top right as Mongols. Let's have a look at the map for yellow to begin with. Playing in the red colour. Nice backwood and backstone for him, and a second wood line not too far away as well, with some gold towards the rear of his map. And this is a pretty OP wall off, I think, in terms of shielding stuff off and having all of this area safe as long as he builds here as well. Could probably do a little bit of a wall here to funnel towards his TC. So I think a pretty nice safe map for yellow on the whole, where he can fall back to safe wood and gold pretty easily. His main gold is exposed and forward, but it's not terribly far from his town centre, and he'll probably be like building up military production buildings pretty forward anyway, so like in front of that area to take control of it. Third gold is pretty far away on this hill over here by these cliffs. Will be a little bit more difficult to get control of that later on. But on the whole, just apart from being supremely open at the front, I think a pretty decent map for him just because he can fall back to these resources. Meanwhile, Whoop's map is this wood line is really far away. Does have another one back here, but that then is far away, and those are his only two unless he wants to go right into the middle of the map to take them. Gold are pretty nice. Both of these pretty close to his TC towards the rear, and if he controls one, he surely controls them both. So as long as he doesn't lose this area, going to have no problems maintaining control of some gold. Third one is way over here, which is in a pretty horrible location, miles away. He can at least TC it, I guess. But the extra golds are right next to this area as well. So potentially a little bit easier time for Whoop securing the extra golds perhaps as we move towards the later stage of the game. Yellow is on the prowl with his scout pretty early in Whoop's base before the 4-minute mark, and if he continues circling around like that, he would have found the boar. However, he's turned back, gone the other way. So may not find it in time before Whoop actually takes it. Meanwhile, just trying to look for second boar of yellow. It's actually here. Whoop could have found it, but he's not quite found it yet. Maybe about to bump into it. Be interesting to see if he tries to steal the boar from the Mongol player. But the villager of yellow is going to be there in time, and he does have loom already, so not really going to be too easy for Whoop to lane that easily. He may just manage it, but loom obviously makes it very difficult to do that, and he's going to do nothing more than just make sure the villager takes a couple of extra hits on its way back. Second ball for Whoop did end up under the TC, so no laming going on here. Yellow is missing 2 sheep, whereas Whoop is curiously missing one that is very, very close to his TC actually. Just guessing his scouting pattern, look at that. That's pretty unlucky. But also, you know, if you see one sheep, you know the other one's going to be nearby, so take the extra time to just figure out where it is and pick it up. Hard to see why he would have missed that. Strategy-wise, we see that Yellow is probably going to be either doing scouts, because he looks like he's going to be splitting his lumber and going with the most likely 10 on wood on his way up, but he also does, as we saw in the first game, a build order like this where he also goes forward with that, so that is a possibility for him. But given that he is Mongols, like scouts is a very good play for him as well. But he hasn't done the traditional Mongol thing of a really fast, like 20 or 21 pop scout rush. Instead he's going for 22, which could mean that he's feeling a little more inclined to forward off the back of this, although you'd think he'd probably be on his way by now across the map, so maybe he is just going to do 22 pop scouts anyway. And not kind of abuse the Mongol hunting bonus to do really, really fast scouts on 20, 21 pop, or even 19 you very occasionally see. As for Whoop as Britons, adding down barracks now, splitting his lumber, so it could be that he's going to try and fight fire with fire and do scouts himself, although he is sending a villager straight to gold already, so maybe not. See what Yellow's choice is with his feudal age. Presumably putting down stable. Oh, actually going straight for archery. So 22 pop. Not on gold that I can see at this point. So could just be going for mass skirmishes. Meanwhile, Whoop is going to gold with the mining cap, so we're probably going to be seeing archers from him. As Britons, of course, laying down the second archery range now. Look at Yellow has actually lamed the all of the straggler trees of Whoop. It's pretty nasty. So, double range skirmishes for Yellow. As ever, just confounds players. Never quite sure what he's going to do. Meanwhile, Whoop is going to be producing archers just from the one range for now. He hadn't transitioned enough villagers to gold to maintain 2 archery range production just yet, but that's beginning to kick in now only because he's doing a skirmisher, but with a couple of extra vills on gold we'll be able to do archers. Meanwhile, the skirmishers from Yellow starting to push out across the map, but are going to get caught out by the scout of Whoop, who will be able to take down at least one of those skirmishers before getting out of there. Obviously those skirmishes are so ineffective against the scout, especially right at the start of feudal age before potentially any upgrades could kick in. And even Stonewall's coming up in the southern part of the map from Whoop, so I think he wants to try and establish a really good defensive perimeter and maybe be a little greedy and get to castle age a little bit faster. Right now he's not investing absolutely massively into military. He's got a few archers sneaking out on the left hand side, might try and see if he can get a few choice picks in the base of Whoop, but for the most part not massing loads and loads, establishing more of a defensive perimeter. He's doing some skirmishes to defend against the skirmishes that Yellow is doing. And Yellow actually getting town watch, so perhaps a little bit concerned that he doesn't yet see the army from Whoop and wonders whether it might be coming for him, sneaking around the map. I wonder if that house found actually know he's coming from here. I just wondered if he'd laid it to try and keep some kind of vision. The first big skirmisher engagement gonna be coming in on this hilltop. Yellow will be forced away with the presence of one or two villagers, just gonna easily tank the skirm fire as well as the greater numbers for Whoop. Those few sneaky archers from Whoop aren't really going to actually get around the edge of the map and do anything. Will be walled out together with the cliff and the forest. So both players just kind of skulking around, not really doing much. Each of them having some skirmishes mainly on the field, but not able to do any damage. Yellow is continuing to flood them though, whereas I wonder if Whoop has kind of cut off production. So Yellow taking the decision to dive past the town centre. Of course he can do that with the skirms not really taking tons and tons of damage. He's got the numbers where even if he lost a skirm, you know, it's no big deal. It means he's going to be able to do great harassment on the gold in terms of actually causing idle, because Whoop is going to choose to chase after this with about 8 villagers, whilst his own skirms kind of get to the right position. And this, even if he's not killing villagers at this point and is actually just losing a skirmisher for free, it represents such a big amount of damage to the economy of Whoop, the sheer number of villagers he's actually chasing after Yellow skirmishes with. And he can just continue moving around, and whilst he might not be killing villagers, he won't be taking much damage considering he's just being fired at by skirms that just do 1 damage and have no ballistics, etc, etc. Continuing to idle more and more of the economy. Whilst his at home remains completely untouched, because though I've been watching on the minimap and those archers that Whoop had never found any kind of angle of attack, and I think these are actually that he's brought home, being cleaned up by those skirmishers of Yellow as well. It's hard to say why he brought them into a fight against so many skirmishers, because it seems a little bit of a waste, especially when you would be hoping to upgrade them into crossbows later on. And right now Yellow even has traded better in this skirmisher fight, even with the fact that the villagers were forcing the Yellow skirmishers to run around so much to start off with, whilst Whoop's ones were firing at them. Home economy for Yellow looking good, even milling some deer and then starting to farm around it. I'm going to guess he's close to the castle age. In fact, yes, he's 400 food ahead, 250 gold in the bank as well, so he's ready to click up, which he's done right now, whilst Whoop is pretty much hot on his heels actually. It's going to be a difference of almost nothing. Both players have remained in the feudal age until they're on 40 or so villagers, which means that as soon as they cut the skirmisher production, really, they get the resources in very quickly to click up. And we're going to see something kind of like the last game, where both players were very heavy on skirmishers and then both transitioned into stables straight away upon reaching the castle age, because Yellow is on his way to castle getting in scale barding armor, and if it's anything like what we've seen from him so far, probably going to drop more than 1 stable. Just the 1 for now, but we'll wait and see. And Yellow running straight past the TC here, completely unscratched by any arrow fire from the TC, and actually picking up a villager on the farm whilst he goes past. I really think Whoop just hasn't done a good enough job of stopping Yellow from diving into the back of his base with all these skirmishers. Most of what the army actually has, it continues to be occupied in dealing with just the 3 or so that are there. And Whoop had actually had a few more archers which are now getting killed so easily. All these villages being completely idle at the moment, not gathering resources, and if Whoop hopes to make knights at the start of Castle Age. He's going to have a lot of trouble sustaining that for very long, considering so much of his economy has been idle for so long, compared to that of Yellow, which has been functioning on maximum efficiency. A couple of scouts will now be able to help clean up most of these skirms in combination with a few of Whoop's own skirms, but Yellow is just a step ahead right now. He's reaching the Castle Age first. Gonna be better placed to produce knights and maintain production of them from early on in the Castle Age. And all of those skirmishes from Yellow now finally being cleaned up, but he's not too bothered about that. What he's now thinking about is that knight play and also the forward siege workshop again. So seeing some characteristic things from Yellow here. Whenever he gets involved in that kind of protracted feudal war, he really likes to transition into knights and then the forward siege workshops immediately afterwards. And I feel like that's going to be very effective because knights are really good at the start of Castle Age when you already got an advantage in the game, because they help to continue to push that advantage when you arrive in the Castle Age. So really good unit choice, and +2 armor already means that those knights are almost impervious to all of this arrow fire from the skirmishers and archers, just shrugging them off. Actually a monastery as well, and there are no relics in the vicinity, so he's going to use the monks that are going to be coming out of there to help heal up his own knights, but also potentially convert knights from Whoop. He has seen the stable by this point, so he knows that Whoop's probably thinking about some knights too to help defend, and in any case will probably make some to target the mangonels that he's going to be producing. These knights have been kind of trapped in a little bit, not entirely, of course they can run around, but they will fall prey to these archer units if they chase after them eventually, given that the crossbows do now have bodkin. But everything is just looking so messy for Whoop. You know, he's trying to build like TCs and stuff to help keep some of his economy safe, but his villagers, he's power building the TC with 15 villages, and then he builds it and he needs to retransition the villagers to the correct resources, and they're all going idle and stuff. It's really chaotic, whilst at home for Yellow everything will be running just fine. He's even 9 villages ahead, so it looks like he must have managed to potentially get onto a second TC. Yeah, he did. So getting onto a second TC whilst maintaining that aggression, and making a complete and utter mess of Whoop's eco. Unfortunately for Yellow and his ability to get this push going right now, he has actually almost lost 2 mangonels, just about saving one with the help of the monk there as well. Got slightly caught out with not having the monks ready to convert Whoop's knights, and also his own knights being over here somewhere. But it continues to look messy for Whoop, and I think Yellow is ready to renew that push, repair the mangonel, producing a second one, and some extra monks as well to convert knights. And with the help of the hill as well to push against these production facilities, it looks really good for Yellow. This is looking like a really strong push, and he's doing it all whilst remaining 15 villages ahead. Ballistics coming in for Whoop to try and help him shoot these knights as they roam around the edge of his base, but this is obviously a very expensive upgrade, and right now he probably needs to be making more iron to help deal with Yellow's push. See what these mangonels can actually do. Yellow needs some micros monks now to guard against these knights that are coming, but he's getting the conversions in. Going to be able to heal those knights back up as well. And Whoop is just having real trouble pushing this siege push away from his TC and away from his production buildings. Seems like Yellow could be about to lose his monks, especially with ballistics there, and that's going to be a real loss for him. I wouldn't say he's exactly got his money's worth out for all of those monks just yet to lose them all, but he did manage to save one. and now he can really think with +2 armor as well, that we're just charging down those crossbows when he gets the chance if they get caught out of position, like they almost did then. I think if Yellow had had 3 or 4 more knights, then he probably would have taken that fight even under the TC, just for the sake of getting rid of the army. Could be about to see a really big mangonel shot there with the aid of the hill advantage, but Whoop is pushing back just in time. I mean, retreating back. And the thing is that Whoop is kind of doing nothing but pushing Yellow away from his perimeter at the moment. But even as he does that, Yellow gets further and further ahead. He is now on 3 town centres, and we could have guessed that by just looking at the bottom and seeing that the villager lead continues to stretch, now up to 25. So even whilst making tons of mangonels and knights and monks and even a scorpion and a forward castle, Yellow is still managing to outboom his Britain's opponents, simply, I would say, by virtue of the enormous amount of idle and just chaos he inflicted on the economy of Whoop whilst they were both going to the castle age. And this is going to be a really great castle for Yellow, because it's going to enable him to take control of this whole area, which puts him only a short distance away from attacking the gold, and means he can kind of lay siege to the gold from within the shelter of the castle. So really good, intelligent castle from Yellow there. And seeing that he really can't do anything against all of this stuff, he just can't push up in against all these knights and mangonels, he sent his army out to try and do some damage to Yellow. But Yellow's retreated his own knights, and if all of those crossbows get caught out by +2 knights, they could suffer. The amount of crossbows is pretty beefy, but in open ground against +2 bloodlines knights, you really do need that many crossbows to take on the knights. And I still feel like the knights would probably clean up on a straight fight if they got a good patrol. And with this castle going up, it gives Yellow free rein to just start laying siege to more and more stuff. He's taken down both archery ranges of Whoop and the blacksmith, clicked up to the Imperial Age, so when he reaches Imperial, he'd pretty much be able to bring all his army back here and do a Treb if he wants, but also adding in Castle Age Mangudai, which did work quite well for Whoop in the previous game, but and I think Yellow will be hoping that they'll have the same effect here, to be honest. They'll also really help him in case Whoop is adding in any mangonels of his own, trying to be a bit of a dodgeball champ and maybe pick off 2 or 3 for 1 if he could, with good micro, because the Mangudai can run in and just raid them so easily. Yellow's knights have retreated to his base just to try and keep himself safe while he transitions into that Imperial Age. Make sure he doesn't take any catastrophic losses, because he must feel very much in control of this game now and just wants to be safe. Good castle from him as well, kind of securing the rest of this gold for him to mine, but also keeping this TC safe to an extent, stopping raiding, shutting down one of the lanes of access to his base. And Whoop is just so far behind that he knows that Imperial Age is the end of him. Been losing everything, fallen 40 villagers behind now, as well as being stuck in the Castle Age with enough resources to click up, but really his army would not have been powerful enough by the time he got up. Yellow would have just been murdering him, probably with Onagers and maybe Elite Mangudai, maybe with Cavalier as well, because he still had all the knights. Really well played by Yellow. Great aggression and great harassment of almost the entire eco of Whoop, like gold, wood, making 8 villagers chase after his skirmishers. And then as soon as he, at the start of Castle Age, doing a really great push from the hill with knights and mangonels and monks, whilst at the same time adding in town centres at home and outbooming his Britain's opponent, even though he was Mongols, and being really aggressive. So great play from Yellow. That means that he takes the series 3-1 versus Whoop, who until this day had his destiny in his own hands and was ready to progress to the knockout stages if he won his games against Yellow, who hadn't yet taken more than 1 point, I don't think, until this stage. But Yellow finishes the tournament with earning some great pride by taking down Whoop, who has proved such a tricky opponent for other players like Chris and Bhakti in this group. So really nice end to the tournament for Yellow. He'll be pleased with his performance today, and Whoop, meanwhile, gonna be pretty disappointed because now things are no longer in his hands. He has to, I think he has to hope that Bhakti loses in order for Chris not to go through ahead of him. I need to check out the brackets to talk from a more informed position. Whoop finishes on 10 points. So Chris is ahead of him and Doubt is ahead of him. If I'm looking at this correctly, that is indeed the case. So Whoop's actually out of the tournament. So despite all the talk of whooping everybody and taking out Loiser, taking out Chris, taking out Bhakti, 2 losses in consecutive sets against Doubt and Yellow. He's only picked up 1 point in that set, and it's really kind of just derailed him right at the end. I may be reading the table wrong because there are different permutations, but he's on 10 points and Chris and Doubt are already on 12 and 11. I think that would be his last set of games, so we're now basically waiting to see what Bhakti can do to decide which combination of Bhakti, Chris and Doubt will advance to the next stage. Right now, Chris is on 12 points, Doubt is on 11, and they've both played all of their games. Bhakti is on 9, but he still has 1 more set to play against Loiser. If Bhakti beats Loiser, he'll be on 12 points and will also hold the tiebreaker against Chris. So he'll go through in first and Chris will go through in second. If Bhakti gets 2 points, Chris will go through in first, but Bhakti will still hold the tiebreaker against Doubt, so Bhakti will go through in second. If Bhakti gets less than 2 points, so 0 or 1, then Chris will go through in first and Doubt will go through in second. So every single game is going to count between Loiser and Bhakti. Every single one of those games is going to be deciding who goes through or not. Every single point that Bhakti earns. So really exciting stuff.